bliss. The universe will open doors where there were only walls. It's a wonderful image. And in fact, a lot of people's experience is so like this. You feel like you're beating your head against a brick wall. And then suddenly you shift just a tad, and lo and behold, there's a passage that opens up.
When you truly step forth and trust your bliss, unseen forces have the power to rearrange things to accommodate your step of faith.
I took that Robert McKee course, and I thought, well, that's not that hard. And I wrote a screenplay. And I sent it to a friend of mine who was somebody's assistant who left it on his desk, and some other agent wandered by and picked it up and read it and said, oh, this is good. And so then my friend went, oh shit, and he ran to his boss and he said, you should read this because that guy over there who's a junior agent liked it, and his boss was a senior agent. And then I got a phone call. And it was fantastic. It was the greatest thing ever. And so it seems like I sold the first screenplay I ever wrote. But the truth is, I kept writing till I got lucky. If I stopped writing, I would never have gotten lucky. There was no luck coming to my house going, hey, here's a book deal. Hey, we want to buy that screenplay that you haven't written. You know, you just keep doing it, and eventually you're likely to get lucky.
Why do most people not follow their bliss? One word, fear. Right? We're literally overwhelmed by fear, and primarily we're overwhelmed by the fear of what other people will think of us. Campbell says that what will they think of me must be put aside for bliss. One of the biggest inhibitors to following our bliss is what will they think of me? Am I going to look like an idiot if I follow my bliss and I fail? Am I going to look like a fool? All these different questions come into our mind.
Your friends and family, who can be very well-meaning, but really will collude with you to create a story that it's hard for you to get out of. For example, don't do music, you won't be a musician. There's no point trying to be a dancer because you'll never make a living doing that. I think that's the first step to the journey. They're the demons we often have to face down.
We are each our own greatest inhibitors. And so people can say, oh yeah, this guy's holding me back, or this situation, but really you're holding yourself back. You're deciding, hey, I don't want to look bad in front of those guys, or I don't want those guys to say some bad things about me, so I'm not going to do that. Who made that decision? You. I'm not going to do that. It means you've decided.
There's a poem of Rumi, the great mystical poet from the Middle East in the 12th century, who said, I want to sing like birds sing, not worrying who you sing. But if you can do that, then you can achieve the impossible.
I'm the best.
For me, one of the most formative times, the first probably most formative time, was when I dropped out of law school. All of my friends at the time told me at least stay through the first year, and I couldn't make it through the first semester. I was literally nauseous at the idea of completing this. I burned my resume. I had no desire to live within the corporate world in any sense. And in the same 24-hour period of time, ended my relationship of 5 years and dropped out of law school.
You could be the second best.
It was an incredibly gut-wrenching, soul-wrenching time. Moved back in with Mom. There were several months where I just laid in bed and slept and read, and it wasn't a pretty process. But the only thing I knew I wanted to do was to coach a Little League baseball team. The little bit of instinct that I had, the little bit of bliss I had in my life at that time, was to work with these kids. And I had no idea what would come out of it. And then 3-6 months later, I had an idea that, wow, there's an amazing opportunity to serve families in sports. The internet was just getting going. This was 1998. And I had a vision of what I could do to serve these families, and created a company that there's no way I could have imagined when I dropped out of law school. No possible way. But as it turns out, I started this business. We won the business plan competition at UCLA. We raised $5 million. I hired the CEO of Adidas to be our CEO. And we hired the law firm that I would have wanted to work for before I graduated from law school. So just this beautiful, sense of this is it. This is what happens when we follow our bliss. Magical things happen that we couldn't have imagined when we're going through the tough point of making the decision to take the leap, to go for it, and to make the difference in our lives.
There are two roads in life, the red road and the black road. The red road is the tough road because it's narrow, it's winding, it's full of storms, it's full of obstacles. The black road is easy. It's straight and it's wide, doesn't offer any challenges. The storyteller never says, you have to travel this road or you have to travel this road. They end up telling you the story of the red and black road by saying this, the choice is yours. Always the choice is yours.
Living this spontaneous life with my father, the bond and the passions that my father shared with me. We got on a plane, 7 in the morning, out of Santa Monica Airport, flying towards Big Bear, where I had won a ski race the day before. We're returning to Big Bear to collect my trophy. On the way, we enter a storm and we crash headlong right into this rugged mountain, 8,200 feet. It's the level we crashed. I woke up. Our bodies were sprawled in this 45-degree icy chute. It was a blizzard. It was hard to find everybody. It took me about half hour, 45 minutes to piece everybody where they were. My dad's girlfriend, Sandra, was still alive. My dad was hunched over, and it was unclear whether he was dead or just so knocked out that he, sort of like comatose or something. I just told myself that he was knocked out. At a certain point, I had to admit that he wasn't going to be able to help me anymore, that I was on my own. Sandra and I took shelter under a wing. Many things happened. Eventually, we started down this initial icy chute. She slipped and was killed. An hour later, I came across her body. I covered her with twigs and leaves and stuff, even though I knew she was dead pretty much. But her eyes were open, so it was confusing for me at that age. I was 11. And then I continued down, and varied terrain and all kinds of things happened. I got stuck in snow. I had to get through little creek gulches and broken rock and ice. And I just wanted it to go away. More than anything in the world, I wanted that pain to go away. Now, had I not gone in there and seen that thing I feared the most, I would not have learned to sort of find the gem and the treasure of pain, those answers that were there for me. And had I not faced that pain, had I not gone and stared in the eyes of the thing I feared most, that I wanted to run through most, I would not be here now with this book, which is really, besides having a kid, the most satisfying experience of my life.
Campbell talks about the fact that when we go on the hero's journey, there's a dragon we must slay. Now, a dragon is the most challenging, fierce creature that can ever be created in mythology.
Joe Campbell describes the dragon as being a beast covered with scales, and on every scale it says either thou shalt or thou shalt not. So this beast is a construction of all of the rules, regulations, social obligations, cultural accretions that have made you feel that you either have to or can't do certain things.
Slaying the dragon, to me, is the most interesting. It's the final moment. It's the time when you are faced with the scariest thing you've been faced with, and you get to take everything you've learned.
How are you doing?
And knock this guy out.
H, do you remember me? H, the guy with the eye, with the brown eye. Did you remember me?
If you were to ask me, what's the one thing that keeps people from their mountaintops?
Can you hear me?
What's the one thing that keeps people small rather than allowing them to present their genius to the world? It's their fears, or as Joseph Campbell says, it's their dragons.
Fear is anything that gets
I
in you.
found a way to unban.
It's a beast. It's a monster.
People in appear.
Fear is, what we face every day. We fear that we're going to be rejected, that we're going to be, no one's going to answer, return our phone call, that no one's going to like what we made or what we did or what we said.
The same link. And
fear that is unfaced
to the room
has a tendency to creep. It moves through your experiences. It starts to toxify your perceptions. You become scared.
Love is what we're born with, and fear is what we learn. And I think there's a great truth in that.
I remember when I decided I wanted to do a full loop ramp, and I had this idea. I knew it was physically possible. I mean, you do it with Hot Wheels, you can do it with a skateboard, right?
No, not even.
And so I presented the idea to my sponsor at the time, and I said, hey, I think I could do this. And they said, that sounds awesome, let's build a ramp. And I designed the ramp. And all this was on paper, and it was my idea, and I'll never forget driving up and seeing it, and this wave of fear just crashed over me, like, oh my, are you serious? Like, I made a loop, I'm really gonna, and I'm the only one that's even volunteering to do it. And at that point, I felt like there was so much at stake to not do it. Because at the time, no one was building extravagant ramps. No one really had money to do that kind of thing. And there it was, and I was like, and I just had to sort of internalize and say, okay, you keep telling yourself this is possible, this is the time, we got to make this happen. And little by little, I figured it out, but I took some heavy hits that day. Actually, now we own one for our HuckJam tour that we can do on tour every single night. But that first time, that was just frightening. But I had to really step back and go, okay, you can do this.
Fear is a very interesting thing. First of all, we need to realize that fear is an inherent part of the human experience. But it's not about getting rid of fear. Where's it going to go? There's nowhere for it to go. The issue is to have courage, to move forward in spite of the fear you feel.
The courage is not a lack of fear. The courage is dealing with your fear. Nobody would ever be described as courageous who didn't confront their own fear. That's not courage at all. It's just doing something that you find relatively unchallenging.
Courage is when you know what to do and you do it. And lack of courage is when you know what to do and you don't do it.
Courage is the ability to get up after you've fallen and try again. Exploring the unknown and trying stuff that maybe people have thought was impossible.
It's just like a muscle. If you want to get stronger, you want to run a triathlon or run a marathon or do whatever you want to do physically, you need to train. You need to get stronger. Courage is exactly the same thing. Think of it like Courage Gym. You've got to consistently go up to